I'm David Tomsic, and the video you're about to watch I already published on my sister channel, Loud and Clear. If you've already watched it, you're under no obligation to watch it again. I believe my viewers on this channel, the Tomsic Report, should also be able to see it in its entirety. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, if you're not a member of our community, like, subscribe, and share our video. I appreciate it. And so without further ado, here's the video, 7 Lies. Enjoy. You've probably heard it, maybe from whispers on social media, from friends or family members or your pastor, or you might have heard it shouted from a political stage. This is a story about a war for the very soul of America. It's a tale of good versus evil, where compromise is considered treason, and your political rivals are enemies with God. But what if I were to tell you this narrative is built on a bed of lies? I'm David Tomsic, and this is Loud and Clear. Now, this story has been carefully crafted by Christian nationalists, and it's designed to fuel division, attack our democracy, and even justify political violence. Now, let's be crystal clear here. Christian nationalism is not Christianity. It's a political ideology that twists a specific version of Christianity and fuses it with American identity, all to gain power and enforce its own rules. So basically what these people do is they go back to our founding fathers, and they believe they all were very conservative, evangelical type Christians, and they founded this country under God, and it belongs to God, and God should run it through Christians. Henceforth, you got patriotism, Christianity, and you put it together. You get Christian nationalism. There's a problem. This ideology needs a constant crisis to exist. In fact, it also needs a bad guy. Now, Donald Trump used this psychology in the run-up to the 2024 election. It got him elected. He had a bad guy, Joe Biden. He had a crisis. Millions of undocumented people coming across the border and destroying our country. So today we're going to expose the 7 biggest lies that they are using to tear this country apart. Let's get started. So if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and share our video. It goes a long way in helping us reach more people. Let's go to lie number 1. America was founded as a Christian nation. Now, the first and most fundamental lie is that the United States was created to be a Christian theocracy. This myth is the launching pad for arguing that our laws should only reflect one specific religious viewpoint. Now, the reality, while most of the founders were religious people, they deliberately built a secular government. They created a separation of church and state for a very specific reason: to protect everyone's religious freedom from government interference. This lie isn't just bad history, it's a direct assault on the pluralistic idea that America is for everyone, aiming to replace it with a system where only one group's religious beliefs get to dominate everyone else's. Keep that in mind when you hear Donald Trump talk. Lie number 2, the Constitution is illegitimate if it blocks a Christian agenda. This next lie flows directly from the first one. The argument goes like this: if the Constitution, the courts, or the laws get in the way of their Christian policies, then those institutions are illegitimate and need to be ignored or even torn down. We see this thinking in plans like Project 2025, which is a detailed playbook for concentrating power in the presidency and remaking our government institutions. Analysts who have studied this plan say the goal is to make sure our institutions serve a narrow Christian nationalist agenda, instead of upholding the Constitution for every citizen. This turns our government from a system of laws into a weapon for a single ideology. Number 3, our enemies stole the election. Now, I talk a lot about this on my sister channel, the Tomsic Report. I'm leaving a link in the description box for that video so you can go and watch it. Okay, to justify their crusade for power, Christian nationalists have latched onto and amplified the stolen election myth, painting their political opponents not as fellow Americans with different ideas, but as cheating secular enemies. Now, this kind of rhetoric was a key ingredient in the January 6th insurrection, where political anger was reframed as a holy battle. By screaming that an election is fraudulent every time they lose, they corrode faith in the entire democratic process. This lie gives them the moral green light they need to take extreme anti-democratic actions to take back a country they feel has been stolen from them. Henceforth, the insurrection. Lie number 4, culture war issues are spiritual warfare. This lie takes debates over things like gender, education, and race and turns them into an apocalyptic showdown between good and evil. Using the language of spiritual warfare raises the stakes from a simple policy disagreement to an existential threat. When you start calling your political opponents demonic, it becomes a whole lot easier to justify extreme and hateful tactics against them. You're seeing them in the streets of America right now with ICE. This rhetoric is designed to kill any chance of dialogue or compromise, painting them as a surrender to evil. It's a strategy to create a permanent sense of crisis, keeping their supporters mobilized by convincing them they are fighting a holy war for the soul of a nation. That's a lot. We're about to get to the last 3 lies, and they get even more intense. Now, if you believe that this information is important, please like, subscribe, and share our video. Also, I have bonus content at the end of this video. I'm going to be discussing the most dangerous Christian nationalists in America today, so watch till the end. Lie number 5, Christians are a persecuted majority. Here's a real head-scratcher. A central pillar of Christian nationalist messaging is that Christians are the most oppressed and persecuted group in America. The narrative of victimhood is an incredibly powerful tool for mobilization. Despite Christianity being the country's dominant religion by a wide margin, this feeling of persecution is used to stoke grievance and rally support. It creates a bitter us versus them mindset, where any cultural shift is viewed as a direct attack on their identity. This victim complex is used to morally justify aggressive political moves as simple self-defense. Lie number 6, political violence is justifiable. This is a big one. This is perhaps the most dangerous lie of them all. The idea that to save the nation, violence and breaking the law are not just acceptable, but necessary. And this isn't just a feeling, it's backed by data. Multiple studies have found that a belief in Christian nationalism is one of the strongest predictors of support for political violence. By framing politics as a holy war, the moral guardrails against violence come down. Aggression gets rebranded as divine duty. This kind of talk has been linked to real-world violence and is a direct threat to our safety and our democracy. Now, without a drum roll, let's go to line number 7. History is secretly on our side. This is a good one. Every movement needs a good origin story, and if you can't find one that fits, you might just have to rewrite it. To make their agenda seem legitimate, Christian nationalists have become masters of historical revisionism. Activists like David Barton have made careers out of pushing pseudo-history, claiming America's founders and founding documents secretly endorsed their modern-day ideology. This involves twisting quotes, ignoring context, and sometimes just making things up to create a version of the past that serves their political goals. Barton's work has been so filled with errors that his own conservative Christian publisher has had to retract one of his books, The Jefferson Lies. Yet his influence continues. This isn't an accident. It's a deliberate hijacking of American history to validate a political project. Okay, here's my conclusion. The 7 lies feed into each other, don't they? Creating a dangerous loop of fake history that is used to justify a holy war, which justifies dismantling democratic norms and even encourages violence. But here's the good news. Understanding the playbook is the first step in countering it. The alternative isn't a godless country. And that's my point. We don't say we want a godless country. It's a country that actually lives up to its promise of liberty and justice for everyone, of every faith and those of no faith at all. We have to choose a future built on evidence and mutual respect, not one built on lies and division. The health of our republic truly depends on it. Okay, now as I promised, I'm going to give you a rundown of some of the most dangerous Christian nationalists in the country. Okay, the first person on my list of the most dangerous Christian nationalists in America is Mark Driscoll. Now, he resigned from Mars Hill Church in 2014 due to years of mounting controversies, including allegations of bullying, misogyny, plagiarism, financial mismanagement, and a divisive leadership style that negatively impacted the church, with a crude online forum post from years prior serving as a final catalyst for the board to remove him from his authority, leading to his exit. He stated that his personality and leadership had become too divisive and detached from the church's mission, prompting his departure to allow the church to move forward. Number 2 on my list is Douglas Wilson, a pastor in Moscow, Idaho, and a leading intellectual figure in the movement. His controversial views advocating for recriminalization of homosexuality and removing women's right to vote. He co-founded a community of Reformed evangelical churches, the CRC, which is expanding its influence, with a new branch recently opening in Washington, D.C. He has been pushing for a Christian theocracy under the Trump administration. Number 3 on my list is Lance Wallnau, a televangelist and self-proclaimed prophet associated with the new apostolic reformation movement. He is the key proponent of the Seven Mountain Mandate, which encourages Christians to take control of the 7 key societal mountains, including government, to establish God's kingdom on earth. He has been described as the father of American dominionism. I've talked about this a lot, so please go over to the Tomsic Report and start watching my videos. I talk a lot about this and how dangerous it really is. The next one on my list is Greg Locke, a Tennessee pastor who gained prominence during the COVID-19 pandemic for opposing church closures and spreading conspiracy theories about vaccines and the 2020 election. He is known for his controversial high-profile Reawaken America tour events and for burning books he deemed as witchcraft. Wow. Now, I have one more person on my list, and he's not a pastor. But I want to let you know that I could have put 30 people on here and not been done. I just picked some of the easy ones. I wanted to make this easy on both of us. That guy I'm going to talk about is the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. If you remember, he ordered the killings of missile strike survivors after an initial military strike against a Venezuelan boat in the Caribbean Sea. So Pete wrote a book called American Crusade, Our Fight to Stay Free. Hegseth called for an American crusade against the nation's enemies, which he identifies as both international actors and domestic leftists or secularists. He wrote, "We don't want to fight, but like our fellow Christians 1,000 years ago, we must." It sounds like to me he wants to go back to the Crusades, right? How did that work out? Not very well. Crusade symbology. He has tattoos of the Jerusalem cross and the Latin phrase, Deus Vult, God wills it, which was a common battle cry during the medieval Crusades. He defended these symbols in the Crusades, falsely calling them defensive wars. No, Hegseth is associated with a specific nationalist movement called Reform Reconstructionism. He believes in the supremacy of the church over worldly affairs and seeks to implement biblical law in modern society. Critics argue that this ideology, coupled with his rhetoric, indicates a belief in using military force to advance a Christian agenda. Now, believe it or not, there are people pushing back against this crazy talk. One guy is Matthew Taylor, a senior scholar at the Institute for Islamic, Christian, and Jewish Studies. He stated that Hegseth's writings and symbols indicate a deep belief in a holy war and an ominous and dark vision of Christian dominance. Some allege he once chanted, "Kill all Muslims" at a bar, which his lawyer has not commented on. Okay, remember Pete Hegseth was drunk a lot. We know this. He had a lot of issues with alcohol and some other things. Kill all Muslims. This is what we're dealing with in our Defense Department. So literally, Christian nationalism is dangerous, people. Be aware of it. Your pastor may not claim to be a Christian nationalist, but if he follows any of these beliefs, technically he is, and technically so is his congregation. If they voted for Donald Trump, they're in deep, because Donald Trump may not be a Christian, but he's going to run this pony as far as he can till it drops, because it gives him power. Christian nationalism helped get him elected. We must fight against it. 2026, we must vote every one of those Republicans out. And in 2028, we got to find someone that will take this country back to where it belongs as a democracy. It's all the time I have. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to love your neighbor as yourself. And I'll see you next time right here on Loud and Clear.